where do we begin with this? A series of redemptions force them to freeze the fund. At what point do those series of redemptions make them sell assets in that fund? Where are we in that kind of situation?
We are almost unequivocally there. This fund holds about a loan-to-value of about 30%. Somewhere in their prospectus, they're going to have the maximum amount they can borrow. You can meet redemptions by borrowing money and just paying people out of leverage. But what happens is that the remaining investors end up more levered, and that generally has a way of ending in an unhappy situation and in a courtroom. Because if another, as it is, you've got 30 cents of debt for 70 cents of capital. If that goes to 50-50, those guys are effectively leveraged 2-to-1, the remaining investors, which may be far more leverage than they intended to have, and that was advertised for something which is sold as a stable income trust. So the managers really do have to slow it down now and start to see about bids on the assets, would be my expectation.
There's always this argument, noise versus signal. You wake up June the 24th, you freak out a little bit, and you take money out of a fund like this. There was always a big question after this, and it has been hanging around now for the last 12 days or so. What does it mean for commercial real estate? Is there a signal in this right here, right now? Does it feed on itself? Can it become real? Even if it's noise, does it become a real signal?
It absolutely can, and I think one of the factors that drives this is, the notion of a price is the level at which people will buy or sell something when neither the buyer nor the seller must act. So when neither one has got external forces. In this case, if and when they go to put up, their biggest property, their biggest investment, one of their biggest investments is White Bear Yard here in London. When they go to put that up to sale, it's a distressed seller and the kinds of people that are going to be out there. So then White Bear Yard gets marked down and the next property gets marked down, and now you're going to have others having to do that. And the alternative is, as I say, to leverage it, what banks are going to start lending more against this pool, and so you start to get this concern. And my gut feeling is, having seen the almost hysteria, what Boris Johnson called the Lady Diana death-like hysteria among the people who did not expect the Brexit, is that a lot of this is actually driven by domestic investors pulling out. So that won't even give you that FX mitigation. Sterling can drop, but from where they are, it doesn't matter.
Fabio, this is certainly a Brexit story, but it strikes me it's more than that. It's also a hedge fund story. Hardly a day goes by that we don't hear about some hedge fund that has to either cut its fees, or it has to close up shop, or we have institutional investors pulling back. What does this tell us, anything about the overall hedge fund industry? Where are we in terms of money going in and money coming out of hedge funds?
Well, over the last quarter was the first time in a little while we've actually seen money flowing back into it, back into the industry. But what we've also seen, I think, is a sincere disenchantment with the level of performance, and also almost more than the level of performance, with the level of volatility and correlation. Every dip and every dive seems to be followed almost precisely with the hedge fund story, with the hedge fund managers. Equity long shorts have correlated very highly. And I think one of the great myths that's going to die, David, is the notion that you can buy individual assets that are so special, specific, and wonderful that they're uncorrelated. That's what the activists contend. I don't need to hedge because what I'm buying is so different from the rest of the market. But when it's macro-based, what you see is wholesale selling. So even if you're an activist on the board, the overall market decline is going to drive you down, and your absence of a true traditional hedge is going to be an expensive mistake.